I'm Roger St. James, and I'm glad that you are here. Now, this is a place where we slow down a little bit and we talk about the stories behind the music that shapes our faith. Well, nothing here is rushed. Nothing here is too polished to perfection, as you well know. Just honest conversations about creativity, callings, and the way God shows up in the middle of real life. Now, each episode, I get to sit down with artists, worship leaders, authors, and the folks behind the scenes who are really figuring out things as they go along, just like the rest of us. We talk about what inspires them, what challenges them, and how their walk with Christ shapes the songs, words, and stories they share with the world. Now, my hope is that as you listen, you'll hear something that encourages you or maybe gives you a fresh way to think about your own journey. So settle in, take a deep breath, and let's explore this together. This is CCM Discovery, and I'm Roger St. James. Hi, Barry. How are you?
Hey, Roger, doing great. Thanks.
This is our good friend Barry McAllister from Fun to Grow On. I had the pleasure of meeting you, Barry, down at Content one day when we were down in Nashville for that fantastic week. So it's good to see you again. I wish you were sitting here next to me, or I was sitting next. Actually, I'd prefer to be sitting next to you in Nashville.
Yeah, come on over. If I were going to come to that chair, it would take me a while, but I could leave. We could try.
We'll make it happen. We like to, before we jump into the fun stuff we're going to talk about, I always like to ask my guests to brag on their family a little bit, because I know your wife, Laura, has a lot to do with the success that you guys have had.
Yes. I'm the comedy guy and the actor guy, and I do all these crazy, silly things. You're like, well, how can I use that, to help people, to add to people? And Laura, she's the one with all the letters after her name, and she's the way I usually say it is that she's like the meat and potatoes, and you just put me on top of it like the gravy. But what I do is I add some entertainment, some improv on top of it. And Laura is the one that we work together. She's the one who has the leadership and the communications experience, and we teach corporate people, individuals, whoever needs it, some better things on how to communicate and how to be better leaders. But it's incredible to get to work with Laura, with my wife. A lot of people, it doesn't work, but with she and I, we're at different ends. I'm the funny, silly guy, and it's almost like a Sonny and Cher kind of thing that we get to do. Anybody remembers who they are?
Oh yeah, of course, of course. We all remember who Sonny and Cher are. But how did it get started? How did you guys decide to do this? I mean, nobody has done anything like what you guys are. We'll get into it more with the details, but you guys work with huge corporations,
Right.
and it's not just the type of thing that I got to experience was that seminar with you, which we'll dive into on that too. But how did this get started, and what was the impetus to get it going?
Sure. Laura was in the corporate world, doing all the corporate kind of things, teaching from inside of companies, mostly healthcare. But what she really enjoyed about it was getting the opportunity to add value to people, to get to teach them and show them how to make things go better, go well. And she wanted to, and in corporate world, a lot of times there's, downsizing, and she kept getting downsized over and over, when the economy goes up and down. And she thought, let me just go try this on my own, and I can work with people, and we can be people of values, adding value to others. And actually, John Maxwell of Maxwell Leadership is one that kind of says that a lot. But she wanted to be able to help even more people. So she stepped out first and started working with folks, and getting to do what she loves, which is to teach. And like I said, to add value to people. And I started coming along because I was over here doing my own workshops and things, showing actors and voiceover people and other corporate people and teachers how to use improv skills in their communications. But we found out that the same skills that improvisers use are the same ones that anybody doing communications correctly have to have. And so it works beautifully to work together, and we get to help people, and we make them laugh at the same time. it's just it just started from us wanting to do what we love.
And what you love, you have, I know you're going to be modest about it, but you have a pretty impressive, comedy background. We're talking about Second City. We're talking. I want to pick this up because I want to get it right.
Okay.
The hum from. How am I saying that? Am I saying that right?
Humphrey. Humphrey the Hunchback
Humphrey.
is, Humphrey.
Okay, and you were the host of a like
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Sure. So tell us a little bit where Barry came from and how you got into what you do.
Sure, sure. Yeah, that's always interesting. People, I've always loved hearing how people started doing, how they get into what they're doing. For me, as a kid, I used to just I loved cartoons. I do cartooning. I did that, and then I started doing cartoon voices. But then I found sketches, and actually, I saw Burns and Shriver. I don't know if anybody's going to remember them or not, but look it up sometime on YouTube. But they did sketch stuff, and then I discovered, Monty Python and some of those kind, and then Saturday Night Live. But I started, making up sketches, and then I started writing sketches as a kid and doing voices. Then as an adult, I got into improv because I just love making up stuff on the spot. I tried some stand up, and it's tough. And then they didn't have a lot of the clean stand up opportunities back then. We have Dry Bar and some other things today, so it was kind of a rough scene going to the clubs. So I started doing improv and just fell in love with it. And at the same time, I was doing acting, doing a lot of music videos, and lucked into some that were very popular. And from there, did more and more acting and more improv. But somewhere along the way, I had the chance to do KT Oslin's "Come Next Monday" music video as the dancing hunchback, and people started knowing me for that. And so when the local TV station wanted a horror show host, I loved horror movies as a kid, all the really bad ones. I'd stay up on Friday nights in my sleeping bag with friends and watch horror movies. I was like, oh, I have got to do that. So I put together a tape, and I ended up being Nashville's horror show host for it was like 3 years, I think it was. And just it was a comedy thing, and the movies were really bad, but it's fun. Some of them are so bad we love them. And I did had a puppet with me sometimes, but Humphrey was pretty popular for a while. But then we were going up against Saturday Night Live when they changed us, and then we didn't do it anymore. It was kind of fun. It was one of my childhood dreams, to be a horror show host, and it's one of those dreams that came true.
It doesn't happen, so that's a very cool thing that it got to happen
Yeah,
for you.
yeah, yeah.
And as far as the voice, how did you stumble onto becoming a voiceover actor? I just think what your as one of the things I talk about here is I get to actually stalk people, so I think it's kind of fun. So I get to dive into people's past, and just the things you've done, Barry, are
Mhm.
just fascinating to me. I mean, the voiceover, the comedy, the music videos, the television show. You've done so much, and if you can just kind of bridge how that got started and how you bring it in to fun
Yeah.
to grow on, and then we'll jump off from there.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. With voice work, like I said, when I was a kid, I just loved cartoons, and I found myself impersonating, Popeye and some cartoons that were popular back then. But then as I started doing some acting, the first places, I started doing a lot of work for Lifeway, the Christian Resources Group.
Mhm.
And at the time, when I first started, they were the Baptist Sunday School Board. But they had a lot of projects for kids and a lot of projects with puppets. And so I started doing the puppets and the voices. And just I love that kind of work. And then I found and others, producers, I knew that I was doing voices and puppet stuff. So I just kept doing mostly puppet voices. And then, as my agent and others found out that I could do voices, I just, started getting hired to do some things like that. And we put together a voice reel. and people got to hear it. And then I started doing my own live kids show at the mall here in Nashville, and then we took it up to Bowling Green, Kentucky as well. So I was the host, Uncle Juniper, and it was Juniper Junction, and we, I did all the voices for the puppets. And then I had to let somebody else do some of the voices too, because I couldn't do everything. I tried, it didn't work. And it was the kind of thing also where some people came up and saw us doing our show in the mall and loved the characters. So then they signed us on to do a couple of videos. I don't know if you've seen the Storybook Tree videos, links I sent, but I know that some people, it's puppet driven, and I got to do all the voices and all the singing on those. And suddenly it just became my thing to be doing voices. And then in my improv, I've always done characters with voices as well. So it just all folds together. And then you asked how I put it into Fun to Grow On. Sometimes I will make some of our promotional things with my puppets. I should have got one of my puppets here on hand to show you, but just a fun puppet on a graphic gets people's attention. And sometimes I'll do little videos to promote Fun to Grow On. But one thing we did too, out of nowhere, since I love puppets and I brought them, Laura was standing talking about hearing the voices in your head. And so I put a couple of puppets on her shoulders, the good voice and the bad voice. And, so I was doing voices behind her and she had no idea what was going on. We just had fun with that. And the audience loved it because, nobody gets to see puppets anymore. And it was just fun, silly out of nowhere. And so that's the main way that voices are working their way into Fun to Grow On right now.
So you work with major corporations. Tell us a little bit about how you came to your faith and how, because you can't go into like the Titans organization, and we'll talk about how you work for them, but you can't go into there and beat them over the head with God.
Right.
So give us a little bit, how you came to faith and then how you feed that into your classes and teachings.
Sure. And when I talk about my faith, it's an interesting thing. I used to feel wanting, and I used to feel, like I was left out because I didn't have a big story of, how my life changed, from bad to good. I was raised in a wonderful Christian home. And of course, I've learned otherwise now, and I love, because I've always had my faith. And, of course, we all go up and down, but I was raised in a home of faith. And one of the ways I got into church was my mother took me to church to get a Cub Scout badge. And I forget what it was. It wasn't like the God badge. I don't know. It was like some kind of a badge for church, but that's how we started going. And then my whole life, I've just kept it and used it as my guidepost. And even in my work now, all the kids' videos that I've done and the shows that I've done, sometimes you talk about it as values, so that you're not just hitting people over the head, but the values are Christian values and they're always there, so sometimes, we just talk about the values and the golden rule and, how to treat other people well. And sometimes I'll just say, being a person of faith, I so and so and so and so.
Okay.
And but I have found that if you mention it just in passing, even, whether it's in a production company or in my improv company now that I work with, you just mention it and all of a sudden people are like, oh, I'm a person of faith too. So somebody just needs to like crack the door open a little bit. And so like my improv group, I work with Oddity Improv out of Franklin, Tennessee now, but somebody just mentioned, that they were a person of faith, and it turns out all of us are. And so, there's, people are odd about their faith sometimes and they feel like they don't want to alienate anybody by mentioning it. But when you're in a group of like-minded people where you could just admit it and pray openly, before your shows and ask for God's blessing, all the way through it. It's just been wonderful. So always find some way to mention my faith or to play my faith into it, either directly or indirectly by, saying values, because it's a big part of what I do is I talk about values and taking care of each other.
Yeah, you're a big fan of the golden rule.
Yes.
And I like how you use that to as a basis, and you can just take it anywhere, and it just makes sense to just live by the golden rule.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I work a lot with students, with kids, and mostly in high school. But and we talk about choices, and the things that they can use to help them make those choices. There are the laws, of a community, and there is, if you're a spiritual person, you have your Bible, and you have the golden rule. Hold everything that you think and everything that you think are going to do up to that. And like if it doesn't match the golden rule, then don't do it. If it doesn't, if it goes against the 10 commandments, I always talk about not doing. Just think about it and don't do it. But my family is actually from a small town in Tennessee, and I've always been a fan of the Andy Griffith Show and shows like that, Green Acres, all the old fun stuff. And I created a show that's created a little town called Sycamore Creek, and I've done a couple of short movies based on that, and we won a few awards for it. It was wonderful, for people to do that. But we had uh, it's small town and small town values, the idea of taking care of each other, and it's basically the golden rule. I have there's always some kind of segment in Welcome to Sycamore Creek where we actually talk about God or we talk about our faith, but everything leading up to that is people showing values, taking care of one another, looking out for each other. And some of the things I've done is like, the people of Sycamore Creek watch out for you whether you want them to or not. It's like, they're not getting up in your business, they're looking out for you. I remember a time in my neighborhood, I don't know how many people had this wonderful experience, but people were looking out for you. And one, you knew that somebody was there to help you if you needed, but also, especially as a kid, you knew if you did something you weren't supposed to be doing, one of the moms would be, on the
Yep.
phone, or I guess I could do this too. That's a rotary dial for all of you young people. Anyway, and they weren't trying to get you in trouble or tattletale. It was a community looking out for each other. And so I just wanted to show that some and remind people of what we used to have. And, I have some scripts that we want to produce that go into that. It's like, do you know your neighbor? I know some of mine, but I don't know all of them. Some of them don't want me to know them. That's our society now. So there's a lot to dive into, of the, and I know we were saying the golden rule, but I want my neighbors to treat me nicely. So I try to treat them nicely and try to meet them, let them feel needed and see if they need anything. So,
Yeah, and that's I think what's missing today. Everybody's so afraid to have conversations. It's
yes.
either you have nobody really has conversations anymore. They have opinions,
Yeah.
you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
and that's what's missing. And I really like what you just said there. And we are definitely going to talk more about Sycamore Creek because I decided I want to move there. So I have to figure out how to get down there.
Segway.
So you work for the Titans, and when I lived in just outside of Nashville and Mount Juliet, I became a fan of the Titans. And I want to know how you're helping them, but is there any chance you could possibly play quarterback or running back or maybe really help them? Because they need it.
Yeah, I was a linebacker for a while, and I had to give up my position though because they needed me out of there. Uh, Uh, I actually worked with the Titans sales team for about 12 years, and just recently they had a change of management, and they're doing something else now, which is it's smart. I mean, for 12 years I worked with their with their sales organization, and they usually had a lot of turnover every season, and they have a new bunch of people that would be on the phone usually, trying to sell tickets and trying to sell licenses or whatever. And they had their little script, and they're always in their head. So I would work with them, number one, to help them feel like come together as a team, and break down their walls and get to know each other and laugh, and have some fun. But then to remember that these are people on the other side of the line, to be in the moment, listening and hear them. One, for their company, because they're there to sell stuff. They're salespeople. But secondly, just to, like I said, add value to these people. And it's like, oh, those salespeople are nice. They were treated me like a real person. That was great. So we had a wonderful time working with them and getting them to be better communicators and learn to know each other. And Fun to Grow On, our moniker or whatever is laugh, learn, grow. Because if you can get people laughing together, then they're going to let down their guards, they're going to forget their titles, and then they're going to start learning stuff. And once they're learning, then they can grow individually and they can grow as a team. So laugh, learn, grow is what we're all about. And we prove it over and over again that, instead of just throwing words at you, and making you sit there and get bored, we get you up on your feet and get you doing stuff so that you're having fun and you remember it later. And then we tell you how to apply it to your life. And we all need more play in our life, more enjoyment. And it's not just playing, it's learning, just loosening up, letting down our guard and getting to know each other and having fun.
That's one of the biggest things I picked up from your the conference content that the show, the conference that I went to with you, because doing this type of thing, everybody thinks, oh, you get up and you can speak in front of people, but all the time, and I'm guilty of it. Every episode I do, I have a list of things in my head, just because I don't want to forget anything.
Right.
And what I really learned from you was, keep the list, but it doesn't have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then a lot of times, and since the class with you, I've really noticed it has made the show better, where I'll just, somebody will bring something up and I'll say, I had, that wasn't even on the list, but let's go down that road and let's see what happens. That way it's not like, okay, and then in 1982 you did this, and then 1987 you did this. And I really appreciated the listening aspect and relaxing aspect of what you're talking about.
Right. So many people get so uptight about having to talk or having to present. A lot of corporate people, they've got their, I was going to find a clicker or something, but they've got their, their slideshow, and it's like, all right, here's number one, I'm talking, and here's number two, and they're just getting it out there. But if you can be in the moment, and like everything you say, you listen. And when we're on stage, we say everything that your scene partner says is important, and you're listening to it, and you're there in the moment. And we do some improv games for listening, to show people how important it is. And those sales folks that I worked with them, they knew, because sometimes people would say, "Oh, that's pretty good. I'm not sure," and they wouldn't hear it. They'd be going, "Okay, point number 3, blah 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 blah." But if you can be in the moment, listening, one, you're hearing and you're picking up what's being said. And then two, you're showing that other person that they are important, and you're connecting, and you'll comment or just, be there with them. And we all feel good, if somebody's, paying attention and listening. I mean, sometimes it's so odd and unusual that at first we're uncomfortable. It's like, they keep looking at me, but it's no, they're with you. I'm with you, and you're important, and I'm listening to you. Otherwise, people are like, looking around the room or whatever, or they'll, have
Looking at the phone.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up next. The phone depth of it all. And, for someone like in your position, what I tell some folks when I talk about interviewing people, it's like, huh, okay, great. Oh, that's wonderful. I'm making a comment back, but, and then I could go back and I could look at my paper and go, something else I was wondering about. It's okay to go back. Just right now, right here is the most important thing. and you live with it. And it might be that they give you something else, like you did a while ago. We switched gears because you wanted to move on. It wasn't you were going point number 4. It's like you said. I mean, if you're loose enough and open enough, you're relaxed and you get rid of that pressure on yourself too when you're talking to somebody. It's like and here's another point. I'm jumping around a tiny bit, but if you think of talking with people and working with people instead of like, I'm trying to get something from you, I'm trying to give you this thing. It's like, if I think about, I'm here to serve this person, I'm here to serve this audience, then you're giving. You're not trying to get something back, from the conversation. It's like you're trying to make them feel important. You're trying to make a contact with this other human being, and for that little bit of time, show them that they're important. And you never know how you're changing people's lives. You don't know what people are going through. Somebody might look like this, and you start. I don't know, and people probably had this. Roger, you probably had this experience. You go into somewhere, and like the motor vehicle department or Kroger or whatever, and you're like, and you go, hey, it's nice outside. Oh, how's your day? And they're like, well, it's good. You're talking to me. And some people, they just need a little something from us, a little kindness in the
They just
moment.
they
Right?
Yeah, they need to know that at that time, in this very moment, it's just you and me.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
this, I'm not going to remember your name. You're not going to remember mine. But right now, you matter. So
Yeah.
even if it's just, hey, have a great day. I hope to see you next time.
Exactly. Oh yeah. And then you hear stories, or I hear stories of people that have changed somebody's life in the moment because, and it could be really dramatic, like somebody was, going to go out and, they're going to do something horrible. Or it might be just as like, I was feeling bad and now I feel pretty good just because I had a connection with a person. Because, a lot of people can say words and communicate, but not everybody can connect. And we all need the connection.
100%. And that kind of leads us to before we wrap up here, we have a tradition. I'm not sure if I mentioned it to you or not, but my oldest son, Tyler, is a legitimate hero. He's a fireman.
Uh,
And my youngest son, Matthew, is profoundly autistic.
yeah.
And for some reason, 9 seconds means something to him. So what we always, we call it Matthew's 9-ish seconds of wisdom. So I always ask the people that are kind enough to join us before we wrap up, what would your 9-ish seconds of wisdom be?
Everybody is important, and connect with them in the moment and be present with them.
That's perfect. That is perfect. And it was probably exactly 9 seconds, which I'm pretty impressed with. But now before we wrap up, we're definitely going to talk about Sycamore Creek, and we're going to go out with a clip of that. And I've watched it several times, and I picked this clip because it has a former guest of CCM Discovery on it. Jeff Allen has
Oh,
been
yeah.
on the show.
Nice.
So and so tell us. I mean, you touched on it a little bit, but the history behind Sycamore Creek, and I wasn't kidding. I would like to move there. I mean, they change people's tires just to be nice,
Yeah.
and I enjoy that.
Yeah. In writing, I was trying to think of, something could show that people might do. Besides like putting coins in a meter or paying somebody's, pay for somebody's coffee that's in the car behind you. I mean, there's a lot of things like that, but a community coming together and the idea of somebody coming into that community and going, oh my gosh, you did something nice for me without me asking. So that was just kind of, we wanted to put that idea out there of why not think about that, have that in your mind. And being a comedy guy, I was trying to think of some people that were in my area that I could get. And Jeff Allen lives in the area. Victoria Jackson from Saturday Night Live fame lives in the area. And we had Megan Alexander, who's done a lot of new stuff. She did Small Town Christmas. And then some good friends of mine. There are also other like Ryan King, great comedians. But then to have those people and to be able to write something specifically for them, like, I mean, Jeff's really dry and he talks about his wife and you get to see
Yeah.
the stuff that he usually does. So it was so much fun. I wrote lines for Jeff Allen, and and he was so good to work with, so nice to work with, and they all came to the little town that I shot in, that we were pretending was Sycamore Creek, and and Victoria Jackson, she was glad to be there, and just did her crazy zany stuff, and even played the ukulele a little bit like she does. But it was just fun to work with some real people of faith. There's funny people of faith out there that keep doing their thing, and they shared their time with me doing my little Sycamore Creek for a little while. It was wonderful.
Now, Barry, while we've been talking, we've been putting all your information under there. But if you want to tell people out loud and live and in person where they can learn more about you and, of course, Sycamore Creek and Fun to Grow On.
Yeah, yeah, funtogrowon.com is our company, and that's the consulting stuff. And on like YouTube and Facebook, there's Fun to Grow On, but it's also Welcome to Sycamore Creek, and you can find the famous Happy Biscuit sketch, and some other great sketches from Sycamore Creek, and all the things we've done through the years. There's even some fake commercials on there, and some other stuff that's not Sycamore Creek.
And it's going to be a lot of fun. I have watched them several times since you told me about them and sent me the links. And we're, like I said, we're going to wrap up here with a little clip from that. But Barry, again, so nice to see you again. Thank you for taking the time to join us here and telling your story. It's been amazing.
Thank you so much. Blessings to you, and give us a chance to talk about our faith and the things we do with creativity. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
Hey there, Mr. Carter. Can I help you with something?
Well, Randall, I got a situation. I don't know if you know this, but I purchased a copy of that famous Blue Boy painting. You know the one, right? Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
We've had it for years. Now, this is going to sound weird, but the fact that the boy in the painting hasn't gotten any older is really starting to disturb me.
So it disturbs you?
Yes. The only one in the entire house that hasn't gotten any older. Now, my wife thinks it's because our boy went off to college, couldn't get a job, and now he's back home living with us. That's what she thinks it is.
Oh, so he lives in your basement?
No, dining room. We don't have a basement. And old Blue Boy's there to remind me of it every day. And my son's still there, too.
Oh, dear.
Wait a minute. What is that? Is that a rabbit? No, wait. It's a duck. No. Wait.
This is one of those optical illusions. This particular one is over 150 years old. So what do you see?
I see frustration is what I see. All right. I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. Which one is it? Duck, rabbit? Tell me.
It literally depends on your perspective.
My perspective. My perspective is I don't know what the heck it is. That's what I'm asking you for. I hate these things. Is it a blue dress or a gold dress? Is it a lady or a cat? The person on the phone named Pat. Is that a boy or a girl? And this one, my wife and I got in a huge fight over this one. Is a tomato a vegetable or is it a fruit? Not a farmer.
Let me let you spend a little bit of time with it, and then you can decide if it's going to be a part of your life or not, okay?
Wish I had that option with my mother-in-law. Hey, I'm kidding, right? Don't tell my wife. But really, it would have been nice.